guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a little walkthrough of spelling UC. So this is the spelling curriculum that I use for my 4th grader. As I've mentioned before in the curriculum videos that I've shared, he is a struggling reader and writer and speller. And so we were doing the traditional approach of here's a list of words, write them over and over and over, and then at the end of the week we're going to give a spelling test. And so we were using that method and we're really finding that it just was not working. And that was when we made the transition based on a little advice from our assessor to try spelling UC. And so that's what we have done. So we actually started this last year with level C, and we actually, because of everything that kind of went on in our lives as far as selling our house, moving into a camper, and all of the things in between, we didn't finish it. So we finished that, just kind of continued on with this one at the beginning of this year. And so now we have moved from level C. This one was about animals. So every writing prompt was about some sort of animal. It came with two student workbooks. So we just finished the second one. And I wanted to kind of give you a glimpse of what this one looked like, just so you have a little bit of an idea once you move from level C to level D, which is what we've recently started. So as I said, it's a 5-day spelling curriculum, and it goes A, B, C, D, E for the days. So here you have your section. So this one was about porcupines. We did the chunks, so you're coloring in bossy R chunks, vowel chunks, consonant chunks, and then he does his writing. And you go through that for 5 days. So B is very similar, looks pretty much the same. So does C. C looks very similar. When you get to D in this level, so day 4 in level C, this one's a little bit different in that you can write your own sentences about a porcupine and draw a picture about it. And so they give you some words at the top to use. We only do school 4 days a week. My husband works 4/10, so we kind of operate on the 4-day school day, or 4 days in a school week. So and that kind of works too when we were in a Sticks and Bricks and we were doing a co-op. So one of our days was co-op day and we didn't come home and do a lot of schoolwork. So we were still operating then with just a 4-day school week. But then on the last day of the week, it was the same thing. Then you would go and you'd have 2 pages to do the dictation exercise. So that was what this one looks like. And again, it's more of the landscape view, but that was level C that we finished. We have since moved on to level D, and the level D is Americana. It's not landscape now. It's going to sit up vertically like this. And so I just want to show you a little glimpse of it. So if I go here, so it's vertical. The passages are longer. They're no longer about animals. This is about American history. So this one is about the Liberty Bell. So we're going to still be doing the same thing, vowel chunks, consonant chunks, but the passages are longer and the writing is a little bit smaller. So if you have a kiddo who's, struggling to write, these lines are a little bit smaller. If you want a little comparison, the letters are much bigger here and a little bit smaller, more fitting on the page right here. And then it's the same thing for A, B, and C. They do the same thing every day. The vowel coloring in the vowel chunks and the writing, vowel chunks and writing. But when you get to D, it's no longer coloring anymore and writing your own little sentences about the topic. This one is a practice dictation. So again, we're operating on a 4-day school week. We don't do D. We immediately just go straight to E, and we just have one single dictation exercise. So this is what we're going to be doing. And what I want to do with this is just kind of walk through our week and show you how we do it. This is all Isaiah uses for it. He doesn't have anything else like a supplemental workbook or work paper or anything that he needs. But I will say the one other thing that he uses are the colored pencils. And so we get the Crayola erasable colored pencils. If you buy a kit of Spelling UC, it actually comes with a set of colored pencils. They line up with all of the different things. And then if they make a mistake, then they can erase them as well. So he just needs this in his book. And then obviously I have my book, the instructor's handbook, and it has all of the answers in the back for you to check and make sure. I don't know about you guys, but I don't have a lot of time to sit and make sure on my own site that they've gotten all the vowel chunks and all the consonant chunks. So I usually use this on the first day, and then on the second day I'm just flipping back to the first day and checking everything. So that's how we do it. And then I'm just going to show you what we do each day. I will say that this is a quick program, at least for my son. He is able to accomplish it in less than 10 minutes each day. And actually in the instructor's guide, it says if it's taking more than 10 minutes, 10 to 15, whatever your kiddo is, comfortable with. But, draw a line and say, okay, when you reach here, if they are a super struggling writer and it's like pulling teeth to get them to write, set a timer, and when you get to that set time, cut it off and let them be done with spelling for the day. So if they never even get done with the passage, it's okay. You did 10 minutes of spelling, cut it off and let it go. He's able to finish it within the 10 minutes. I will say every once in a while, we're like cutting it close and I'm like, we're just going to continue it. And anymore, I can kind of gauge if he's really, really struggling, and I don't really even time anymore. I did in the beginning just to have an idea of, how long is it really taking? And he doesn't even get close to the 10-minute mark anymore. So we're not timing anymore. But if you do have a struggling writer or reader or speller, that might be a good idea just to be able to say, at the end of the day, we're just practicing, we're just working on it. We're not going to beat this into the ground. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and give you a week's look at what we do every day and kind of how we go through this process of spelling UC. All right, Isaiah, so we're getting ready to do your spelling. When you do your spelling, what are the two things that you need?
My spelling book and my pencils.
Okay. Once we start, what's the first thing that we do?
You read it to me.
Okay, I read you the selection, then what happens?
I read it.
And then you read the selection back to me, and then?
Color in the chunks or whatever.
The chunks, yep. So you have different vowel chunks, consonant chunks, bossy R's, silent letters, and tricky Y guys, different things like that have different colors. So once we've both read it, and you go and you color in all the different chunks. Then after you've colored in the chunks, then what do you do?
Right.
You are copying the passage down. Okay, so can you open up to today's? You actually got ahead of me before I could even tape you to do this. You were on top of things today. So let's take a look at what you did today. Okay, so what we had, you're reading a story about what?
Pilgrims.
Okay, so I would have read it to you and I would have said, the Pilgrims had a hard journey to America. It took 2 months to cross the sea in their small, crowded ship.
It was freezing. They had little food. By spring, half of the people had died.
Very good. So once we've both read it, then what did you do? You grabbed the yellow, because yellow is for what?
Vowels.
Vowel chunks. So you went through and colored in all the vowel chunks. Now that you've done that, and, the other thing you did, what else did you do?
Right.
You copied the passage on the other side. So now that you've done both of those, now I will grab the teacher's or the instructor's handbook, and I can grade those pieces, and then we'll go over anything that you missed as far as vowel chunks and any misspellings that you have made in your copying. So here's what it looks like. We have the instructor's handbook right here, which has all of the correct things that should have been highlighted. And you'll see that as you go, we're just for the first two lessons are focusing on vowel chunks. Then we move into consonant chunks, and you can see as you get further on, you're actually looking at lots of different pieces in there. So it gets a little bit more advanced as you go, but we're just still focusing on vowel chunks. So we're going to compare the two and grade it, and then I'm going to go ahead and look over and make sure that he spelled all of these words correctly. All right, so when I have noticed that he has missed anything, normally I don't necessarily point it out. I just go ahead and underline the word so that he knows to take a better look at it and see if he can find anything that he has missed. All right, so now he's made his corrections. He didn't have any corrections to do on his copy work and practicing. So that's it for day one, where we've read it, we've looked for the vowel chunks, and he's copied his work, and he'll be ready for tomorrow. All right, Isaiah, are you ready to get day 2 of spelling done today?
Yeah.
All right, so go ahead and open it up. We're going to do the same sequence that we did yesterday. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do our reading. So I'll read it to you and then you'll read it to me. Okay, so what are we going to do now?
Right.
Right, or your vowel chunks?
I'll do these first.
Vowel chunks, all right. Okay, now that you've done your vowel chunks, now we're going to go ahead and move over to your copy work. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so there we go. We did we looked for our vowel chunks, we did our copy work. Now I'll look over it, make sure that you have everything spelled correctly, but all in all, you were able to complete all of that under 6 minutes. So we read it, we looked for our vowel chunks, and we did your copy work, and it was all done in under 6 minutes. So nice job, bud.
Thank you.
All right, Isaiah, are we ready for spelling?
Yeah.
All right, so is today any different than it was yesterday?
No.
Nope, so go ahead and show me your book. All right, hold it up for a second. So doing the same thing, we're going to read over it. We're going to color in the vowel chunks, and then you're going to do your copy work. So yesterday you finished out the paragraph, so now when you do your copy work today, it goes back to the beginning and you'll do your copy work there. And then I'll grade it again and we'll fix anything that we messed up, and that'll be it, right? Probably 5-10 minutes, no more than that, right?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. So Isaiah finished his day 3 for spelling, and you can see I went over and graded it, and I just wanted to give you a little glimpse of what it looks like once I finished my grading. So you can see he did his vowel chunks here, and he missed 2 of them, so on they. So what I usually do is on the word, if he misses a portion of it, I underline it. You can see before he had missed the first part on journey, so I just underline the word to have him look over it again and make any additional corrections he needs. And then over here in his copy work, he spelled journey and months wrong, so I'm going to circle it, and then I'll hand it back to him and have him make these corrections by highlighting the proper vowel chunks and then correcting the spelling, and then he'll be done for his day 3 of spelling. All right, so today we have our last day of our spelling, and you'll see if we open here to our book, you can actually see that we're going to 2E. We do a 4-day school week, so we are skipping 2D. It's very similar to E. It would be another where you're coloring in your vowel chunks and you're doing a practice dictation. So today is kind of like the spelling test day, where he's going to do his vowel chunks, and then I'm going to read to him the story. He'll obviously cover this up so he can't see it, and then he will do his writing just from listening to me to see how well he knows how to spell all of these words. So we're going to go ahead, and Isaiah's going to do his coloring. We also read it over like normal, and then I have him just kind of look over any words that he thinks he might have trouble on. We kind of review those a little bit before we get into our dictation. All right, so now here we are. Isaiah has colored in his vowel chunks. We looked over some of the more difficult words that he's going to be dealing with. He has his page folded over so that he can't see the actual text. And we're getting ready to go through his dictation. So when I grab it, I grab my instructor's manual, and then they have here the passages for dictation. So I just sit and I pretty much just read him one sentence at a time. And I usually say it a couple times, he'll write it. I know the book says that like once you've reached like 10 minutes or something like that, that if it takes more than 10 minutes to get through the dictation, then just cut it off there. There's no point in, dragging it out. We're usually under 10 minutes, so we've never not finished the dictation. He's usually pretty good with going through it. I know in this level D, the passages do get a little bit longer, a little lengthier, and more difficult. So With that, we might find that as we progress, we might need to cut it off at a certain point, but I haven't really watched the clock so much in the recent time because he does go through it pretty quickly. So we're gonna go ahead and get started and work on our dictation. You ready? Okay. The Pilgrims had a hard journey to America. The Pilgrims had a hard journey to America. One thing that I like to point out to him too, if he's struggling with a word, a lot of times he has a couple of different ways that he thinks it might be spelled, and I'll just have him write both, because sometimes once he writes them, he can recognize which one is correct. So when he's struggling and he's getting a little bit discouraged, I tell him, write down the couple of ways that you think it could be spelled, and then choose one of them, which one looks right to you. Whether that is a good suggestion, it usually does work for him. I think he does have more of a visual learning, so when he sees it, he recognizes it and is able to choose the correct spelling. It's not 100% foolproof, but it is something that has helped him prevent him from getting a little bit discouraged when he's in the middle of a dictation. So he has now finished his dictation exercise. So what I'm gonna do now is I just look over it, make sure that he has spelled each word correctly. I'll circle it if he has gotten it wrong, and I'll just put a check mark on it if he got it right. So I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, so I finished looking over his dictation. You can see what we have here. He had one misspelling, so I wrote it down here for him to rewrite. And then you'll see the one thing at the bottom. It says, I spelled 55 words correctly. And I think that is one of the big key components, is that we're focusing on, with this curriculum, we're focusing on what we did right rather than what we did wrong. And I think that is a really big booster to your self-esteem when you look and said, instead of saying I missed one, you said I spelled 55 right. And so I think that has done a huge thing for my child, who is very much a fan of praise and words of affirmation. So this works really well for him. We have had a lot more success with this spelling curriculum, if anything, if for nothing more than just this at the bottom, by looking at what we've done well and what we've done right, rather than focusing on what we've missed and have done incorrectly. So that's just kind of how we did it. I used the dictation to go over it. I mean, I could have turned it over and just looked at the text on this side as well to grade it, but we went through, we looked at all the words, had one misspelling, we corrected it and counted how many we got right. And so our work for the week is done. Again, every single day was done in less than 10 minutes. So I do like that as well. And a lot of it, other than reading it over with him, is pretty independent work for him. So he can go and get this done without needing me by his side for the majority of it. So super handy. All right, guys, that's it. That is a week's worth of spelling UC with my 4th grader. Again, we are in level D, and we have only done C and D. So we did not do A and B. We had been giving the old, write the list thing a try. It didn't work. So we just immediately, with the skills that he had, we were able to go ahead and jump right into level C. So I don't have any recommendations or any advice about levels A and B, because we haven't personally done those ones, but I can tell you that C and D seem to be working really well with him. So if you guys have any questions, as always, I'm happy to answer them. And until next time, guys, have a super blessed day.